Good day, everyone. So we will proceed with the discussion of the core concepts in tour guiding services, including the definition of tour and tour guiding. We will also describe the different types of tour guides in the past and at present, as well as the career opportunities in tour guiding. So at the end of this lesson, you should be able to explain the basic concepts in tour guiding services, identify the roles of a tour guide, discuss the history of tour guiding in the world and in the Philippines, and explore opportunities for tour guiding services as a career. People travel for different reasons. One of the reasons is to enjoy new places and, of course, to try the different activities of the destination. And the services of a tour guide contribute to these experiences of these people during their travel or during their tour. So what is a tour? Tour came from a Latin word tornare and Greek word tornos, meaning to circle around. The word tour means to come back to the point of origin after going to a destination elsewhere. So in tourism, the word tour refers to the activities of people or the activities of tourists when they go to a place to see and learn about it in person. So as you can see in the diagram, we have the tourism system model. So this LIPER's tourism system is a basic conceptualization of the structure of the tourism industry. So it is one of the most leading models of tourist attraction system that was created in LIPER in 1990. So who is LIPER? By the way, Neil LIPER was an Australian tourism scholar who died in February 2010. And his work was extremely influential and continues to be well cited throughout the tourism literature. So, according to LIPER, he defined tourism as the system involving the discretionary travel and temporary stay of persons away from their usual place of residence for one or more nights, excepting tours made for the primary purpose of earning remuneration from points en route. So the elements of the system are tourist, generating regions, transit routes, destination regions, and a tourist industry. So these 5 elements are arranged in spatial and functional connections. Having the characteristics of an open system, the organization of 5 elements operates within broader environments: physical, cultural, social, economic, political, technological, with which it interacts. So, how this LIPER's tourism system model work? Let's see. Now that we understand who Neil LIPER was, and of course we know that he was an incredible tourism scholar, let's take a deeper look at his tourism system. So, look at the diagram. You can see the way in which LIPER depicted tourism as being a system. So LIPER did not want people to view each part of the tourism industry as being separate and independent because of course it is not. Rather, each component of tourism is closely interrelated. This means that each part of the system relies strongly upon other parts in order to function properly. So let's say, for example, in the context of travel and tourism, if an airplane is not running flights to a destination, then the hotel will have no business. And if there are no available hotels in the destination, then the people will not book flights there in that destination. You see? It's a very simple example, but hopefully that helps you to provide a clear picture of how the tourism system is interconnected. Right? So we have the basic elements of LIPER's tourism system. We have 3 major elements in this system: the tourist, the geographical features, and the tourism industry. Of course, we know that the tourist is the actor in LIPER's tourism system. Without tourists, there will be no tour. So these tourists move around the tourism system, consuming various elements along the way. Another is the geographical features. In Leiper's tourism system, he identifies three major geographical features as depicted in the diagram. The green one, the traveler generating region. The yellow one, the tourist destination region. And in between these two major features is the TRR, or the tourist transit region. So the tourism industry is of course at the heart of the tourism system. All of the parts that make up the structure of tourism are found within the tourism system. So Leiper identifies three main geographical regions in his tourism system. You can see it there again. The traveler generating region, or the TGR. The traveler generating region is the destination in which the tourist comes from. Okay, so it is where the tourist comes from. So for example, if a person is taking a domestic holiday, then their hometown will almost certainly be classified as the travel generating region. However, when we travel further away, the precise details of our home locations become less important. Just for example, you may refer instead the country or district in which you live, or you may simply refer to the country. For example, if I were to travel to Spain, I may refer to my traveling generating region as the United Kingdom. Within the traveler generating region, there are many components of tourism. In here, you will often find the stakeholders in tourism, such as the travel agent and the tour operators. They are the ones who promote the outbound or domestic tourism. They are also the ones who create the tour packages and sell to the tourists. Okay, so let's move on. Another is the yellow one, the tourist destination region. So in the system of Leiper, the tourism destination region is the area that the tourist is visiting. This could be a small area such as a village or a tourist resort or a city. For example, Baguio City in the Cordillera Administrative Region, or Sagada in Mountain Province. The tourist destination region could be an entire province also. For example, Caloocan Province or Ifugao Province. Likewise, it could be a country such as Japan or Korea. Or it could even be an area of the world such as the Middle East or the Asia. So in the tourist destination region, you will find many components of tourism in here. So you will likely to find the hotels or the accommodations, the tourist attractions, the different activities, the tourist information centers, or many more and many more. Another is the tourist transit region. That's in between the TGR and TDR. So this is the last geographical region identified in the system. So the TRR is the space between when the tourist leaves the traveling generating region and when they arrive at the tourist destination region. So this is effectively the time that they are in transit. The tourist transit region is largely made up of transport infrastructure. So this could be by road, by rail, by air, or even by sea. It involves a large number of transport operators as well as the organizations that work within them, such as of course the different catering establishments. Okay, so the transit region is an integral part of the Leiper's tourism system. To conclude, Leiper's tourism system is a key part of the foundation literature in travel and tourism. It provides a good representation of the way that the many parts of tourism industry work together as a system rather than individually. So let's see some of the definition of tour guide. A tour guide is a person who guides tourists as they go about a foreign place. A tour guide helps the tourist to gain a better appreciation of the place and the interesting things to see in the destination. The tour guide likewise helps tourists use their time more efficiently. And according to the Tour Guide Code of 1987 promulgated by the DOT or the Department of Tourism, a tour guide is an individual who is licensed by the local government and accredited by the Department of Tourism to guide tourists, both foreign and domestic, for a fee, for a commission, or any other form of lawful remuneration. What is tour guiding? Tour guiding therefore refers to the provision of professional service to interpret the cultural and natural heritage of an area. So in this sense, interpretation does not only refer to translation of information from one language to another, but also the description of cultural and natural attractions that helps people gain better understanding and appreciation of such. A tour guide plays a very important role in the tourism industry. This includes the following: meeting and greeting tour participants upon their arrival, facilitating introductions, coordinating the pre-arranged accommodations and transport, making sure that all participants are comfortable, coordinating pre-arranged tours to local attractions, shops, and even restaurants, pointing out places of interest, preparing and presenting tour guide spiels, or also what we call the tour commentaries, researching and sharing general information about a place, attending to operational problems such as, for example, booking changes, lost bags or baggages, or sickness, and providing first aid if needed, and also preparing and submitting post-tour written reports. So these are just some of the basic roles of tour guides. We also have the following elements of tour guiding. The first one is professionalism. Before becoming a tour guide, a person must first undergo a training program. In many countries, one must acquire a license to practice legally. Just for example, here in the Philippines, you have to undergo the training that is being conducted by the Department of Tourism or TESDA and be accredited as a professional tour guide. Another element is service. Tour guide provides service. This is the form of product that is intangible, perishable, and the one whose production and consumption happens simultaneously. Another element is the interpretation. This is one of the tour guide's role. It is to educate the tourists about the meanings and significance or importance of the cultural and natural attractions in a certain destination. The fourth one is the physical elements. Tour guides combine service with the physical elements to create the total tourism experience for the clients or for the tourists. The physical elements include the hotel facilities or accommodation, transportation such as vehicles, the parks, and even museums. Okay, and the last one is the characteristics of a tour guide. Tour guides must be mature enough, responsible, patient, tactful, and even sensitive to different cultures. They must also be articulate, organized, and healthy to cope up with the physical demands of the job. They must also show sincere interest in the places where they practice their profession. So it is very important for the tour guide to understand that their main reason for existence is at the tourist. That without the tourist, there will be no tour. So in this regard, and in consideration of the above mentioned these elements of tour guiding, the tour guides must possess a deep understanding of the tourist, the tourism industry, tour programming, and even the tour arrangement. Right, so we have the following types of tour guides. The first one is the urban guide, or also known as the city guide. So these guides are the one who take pleasure in telling the story of a city or a region. So they are freelancers who contract their work on a tour-by-tour basis. Another is the government guides. These are guides that is being employed by the government to show the most important history, the cultural, the political, and scenic facilities of the country to the foreign visitors. Another is the driver guides. So these are the guides who conduct tours while driving motor. So they have dual role. But for some countries like Austria and Cyprus, it is illegal for them to have these driver guides because they want for a tour guide, they should have a focus in assisting or guiding their tourists to avoid accident. Okay. Another is the business or industry guides. So these individuals are being hired by several corporations or company to conduct tours of their facilities to educate the visitors regarding the usage of their facilities and to promote their business or industry, and of course uplift the image of their company. We also have the adventure guides. So this includes the mountaineering guide, bicycle guides, fishing guides, rafting guides, and many more. So for the adventure guides, it's very important that you are skilled enough for you to be a guide. For example, a mountaineering guide. If you are not that healthy or fit enough to climb the mountain, then of course you cannot become a mountaineering guide. Same is true with fishing guide. If you don't know how to swim, how can you be a fishing guide? Same is true with the rafting guide. Okay? Another is the tour manager. This is the one who administers and regulates a tour. So tour managers make sure that the tourists get what they pay for and that the itinerary or the tour schedule is followed during the duration of the tour. Tour guides also act as interpreters. They are translators of the foreign languages and the one who communicates with sign language. So in the tourism industry, interpreter is one who practices the art of explanation or the art of revealing the meanings and relationships in the natural, cultural, recreational, and historical resources of a certain destination. So we also have what we call escort interpreters. So they accompany the foreign visitors who are officially invited by the government. So they are expected to have a very high language proficiency, excellent health, and a broad educational background. And of course, a licensed professional tour guide accredited by either the Department of Tourism and also the TESDA. Another is the docents, or also known as the volunteer guides. So they are most commonly docents and they are found in the most every city and town at the visitor centers, museums, churches, and other places. A tour guide performs many functions. However, a tour guide cannot work alone. He or she relies on others to provide the tourist with a total tourism experience. For instance, the tour guide cannot provide the accommodations and also the transportation on his or her own and cannot serve as the sole attraction. There must be provided by tourism suppliers such as hotels, transport companies, museums, and parks as well, and other tourism activities that a destination can provide. Now that we were able to learn the various roles that tour guides play, let's move on with the discussion of the history of tour guiding. The roles that tour guides play have changed over time. So tour guides have been around since the ancient times when travelers found the need for guides who could help them in their journey. So the information that guides provide were prized by many historians such as Herodotus. I know that you are familiar with Herodotus. He's one of the famous historians in the ancient times. They actually provide value for tour guides who could recite with the great authority the dates, the dialogues, and other specifics about people who had lived 100 years ago. So, as you can see, tour guides are present during ancient times. Also, during the Dark Middle Ages, this is a period which is regarded as a dangerous time because of the fall of the Roman Empire. So, the period emphasized the guide's role as safety escort for travelers. So, they became escort for travelers, including the pilgrims and businessmen during this period. We also have the Renaissance period. During this Renaissance, the guides took a more demanding role, that of an educator, or they became mentor in addition to the role of protector when the Grand Tour became a fashion as a rite of passage for sons of well-to-do Europeans, mga rich kids. So the carefully appointed guides who serve as the young men's tutors and chaperones as they journeyed through a prescribed route from England to France, Germany, Austria, Switzerland, and even Italy, which was the final destination. So the students were welcomed as gentlemen when they returned home during this Renaissance period. And also, during the modern age, there was actually no evidence of organized training exist for guides before the 20th century other than the company training given by the Thomas Cook Travel Agency. So England is one of the first countries to regulate and train guides when authorities were prompted by the aggressive competition among the guides for the business that tourists brought in the 1930s. So at present, many countries already start training and accrediting their tour guides to maintain the high professional standards. So even though the guides' roles have evolved over time, their roles as communicators, as educators, and of course as shepherds who take care of the tourists have remained unchanged until this day. Nowadays, there are different career opportunities for tour guides. Just for example, unemployed guides. These are guides that are being employed by a certain company and they earn a regular wage whether there are tourists or none. So these companies include the government, the private travel agencies, museums, and even other industries that run their own tour of facilities. So, for example, Metro Manila, the minimum wage in Manila is 512 a day. This is as of 2018 according to the Department of Labor and Employment, or DOLE. But in addition to the regular wage, some tour guides also receive an allowance from their employer and earn even from the tips or monetary gift from their clients if the employer allows. Tips can range from maybe 100 pesos to even $100 per tour, depending on how much the tourists appreciate the services rendered by the tour guide. We also have what we call the freelance guides. So they are like other businessmen who depend on the influx of clients to earn. So they are most commonly self-employed guides who make and sell their own tours. We also have the volunteer guides. These are unemployed guides who are mostly, it became their hobby already to guide or act as a tour guide in a certain destination. So they earn non-monetary rewards such as maybe friendship, experience, and even cultural exchange. So some volunteer guides also accepts tips. Okay, so aside from these types of guide, we also have the guides based on their specialization, such as plant guides, for example. So they are being employed by corporations, usually as part of the public relations department. So for the plant guides, they conduct tours in company's plant or factory with the primary aim of uplifting the company's public image by educating the visitors about their business goals and operations. In a way, they are like the museum guides who specialize in a particular collection. there, and even an adventure guide, a city guide, and many more other special interest guide. So, as discussed earlier, there are various ways of tour guides to earn. So the first one is the regular wage provided by their employers, such as travel agencies and the governments. And also, tour guide earned also from the tips or monetary gift from tourists as a sign of appreciation for the tour guide services. Okay, so in addition to this, tour guides can also earn from commissions. By the way, commissions are a certain percentage of the cost of goods sold to tourists. Like, for example, there are some restaurants and souvenir shops that grant commissions to tour guides who bring tourists to their stores. Giving commission is an incentive that shop owners use to encourage the tour guides to bring them business from tourism. So, nevertheless, tour guides must exercise ethical judgment and moderation when recommending shops to tourists. Tour guides must not be too pushy. Recommendations should be made to provide choices to tourists and not to constrict the tourist's ability to make their own decisions. Okay, so another is the relevance of the tour guiding course. Of course, tour guiding can be a very rewarding occupation, especially in areas frequented by tourists, such as Baguio City, for example, Manila, and even Cebu. So some tour guides earn enough from the tips alone. There are also guides who regard tour guiding as a lifelong career. They have raised their families through tour guiding proceeds, and some have risen up to the corporate ladder and rose to executive positions in their companies. Whichever path they chose, most tour guides remain steadfast in their dedication to the profession for the non-monetary gratifications, such as, of course, meeting people and learning about other people's cultures as well as their own. So the tour guides play an important role in the multi-billion-dollar tourism industry. And tourism cannot progress without the trained manpower, and that includes the tour guiding services. As professionalism is one of the core elements of tour guiding, it is imperative to provide a well-defined training program aspiring guides. The inclusion of tour guiding as one of the specialization tracks in the senior high school, specifically under the TVL strand, is a significant advancement in harnessing the growth potential of the tourism in our country.